So the first prerequisite to talk about today is elbow supination. It's really common that when I watch someone do chin-ups, they'll walk up to a bar and they do something very funny. They'll reach to grab onto the bar, and when they grab the bar, what they have to do is kind of swing their entire body just to get their hand into the position. So that would show you right away that they can't supinate their elbow. If you can't turn your elbow enough to get on the bar, how are you going to do it? What you'll do is you kind of wind up, and you'll see this. You'll see people grab onto that bar, and if that's you, you can call yourself out here, and then they torque their body back, and they use that passive torque of their body weight to get their elbow in the position. So you can quickly self-assess and see if you have enough elbow supination just to grab the bar. You may know this from your cars already, but it's just a capsule car self-assessment. So come into some elbow flexion, and I just want you to supinate. Show your palm out. Can you actually get your palm outside of your shoulder? Now try that a few times. And if you don't have supination, don't worry, we're going to train this with pails and rails in a moment, but just get 5 reps, very small half capsule car, assessing your elbow supination. For me on this right side, I note I have enough elbow supination. If I were to extend up, I could grab onto that bar with my elbow rotated enough. So to train elbow supination, here's what we do. We strap onto the dowel. What we're going to do is reach across with the opposite hand, and now we're going to pull into passive elbow supination. So by pulling up here, I can watch my forearm supinate towards the floor. Now, many of us will be to go too far. So as you go, note how far you can go that you actually see your elbow turn. If I go too far, what I see is my elbow doesn't rotate anymore, then I see my wrist start to crank and my wrist bends and contorts. Don't do that, it's now a wrist drill. So assess a few times, find that passive elbow supination. Might get a stretch in the forearm, might not. Either way, just breathe today. About 30 seconds, breathe into that elbow position. You can play around with the angles here. Obviously, more inflection is a bit more similar. Just teaching that elbow to relax. I like to stay around 90 degrees, just find I can get more tension in this position. But again, you can play with it. One more breath. So staying in the position, your pails effort is going to be trying to pronate out of the stretch. Your rails effort trying to supinate further. 2 rounds, 10-second pail, 5-second rail. Staying low levels of tension. Today, getting up to about 40% effort. Big breath in, trap that air, irradiate, think forearm, think biceps, start your pails, trying to pronate, trying to turn my elbow against the weight of this hand. Ramping 10 to 20, 30, and 40, fight right there. 5, 4, 3, 2, supinate, try and turn. If you can, you're gonna lift the dowel away and hold, but don't lose that elbow angle. 3, 2, 1. If you're able to lift off, come a bit deeper into the stretch, but don't crank that wrist. Big breath in, trap that air, irradiate, think forearm, think bicep, pails, start trying to pronate out of the stretch, fighting down into the weight of that opposite hand, ramping 20 to 30, 40, right there, 5, 4, 3, 2, rails, trying to supinate, try and turn that palm, lift off if you can, hold, 3, 2, 1, relax into the stretch and get a breath. So to save the work, put that dowel down for a moment. I actually want to get an elbow flexion passive range hold, but I want to challenge you to stay in elbow supination. So here's what we're going to do. It's going to really carry over to our chin up today. So in this position, I want you to squeeze as much elbow flexion as you can actively, and then I want you to get as much active supination as you can. So palm outside of shoulder as best you can, and then apply passive stretch. Squeeze into elbow flexion. Let's bring that elbow up a little higher, some shoulder flexion here, like our chin up. Max out your supination, palm outside of the shoulder. You're gonna take a big breath in, or radiate. You're gonna think bicep. You're gonna let go and hold strong, minimizing any change in this position. We're gonna hold for a 4 count. We'll get 3 of these. Squeeze that bicep, palm turns out, 3, 2, 1, hold, hold, bicep cramps here, hold, strap back on, more elbow supination, a little bit more shoulder flexion. Good tension, 3, 2, 1, and hold, 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 minimize any lag. One more time, supinate elbow, squeeze bicep, load shoulder, 3, 2, 1, and hold, hold, hold. Strap back on, get a breath. And now we get that same series for the opposite elbow. So prerequisites, we've looked at the elbow, we've looked at the scapula, we woke up that T-spine already. Next up, we've got the shoulder. If we think about it, 2 big things here. We need extra rotation in the shoulder to be able to torque as we grab onto that bar in a supinated position. We've got to rip and squeeze out on that bar. So that's that humerus externally rotating, just like the beginning of that shoulder car if you think about it. So external rotation training coming next. And with it as well, we need to get those shoulders overhead, so shoulder flexion series as well. Before we come down to the floor for some pails and rails for shoulder ER and shoulder flexion. So here's the setup, dowel elevated on blocks. If your shoulders are a bit limited overhead and flexion, feel free to stay low. If you've got a bit more shoulder flexion, you can elevate those blocks a bit higher. Either way, we come down prone, grab onto that bar. I like to go thumbless grip here. We want to find some scapular retraction, so shoulders are low away from the ears, some slight shoulder external rotation. Make sure those wrists are not bending. If you need to, you can always go wider away from the ears to regress slightly if there's any pinching, but just breathe into this position. As you breathe, shoulders just sinking low, finding that external rotation. Head can fall to the floor. You can always have a pillow under the forehead. Same exact set we just did for external rotation. 2 rounds. Pails is going to be pushing down, trying to drive yoga blocks through the ground, making sure we stay in shoulder ER and some scapular retraction. Rails, same idea, but trying to lift up and hover off those yoga blocks. 50% effort first set, 70% effort second set. Big breath in. High tension, pelvis tucked, ribs are down. Irradiate pecs, upper back. Start driving through those blocks, pushing through that floor, ramping slowly. 10%. 20%, 30%. Keep going, drive down. 40, 50, and fight. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ribs stay down, pelvis is tucked. Rails, maintain shoulder ER, lift off, hover, and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Decelerate down, take a moment. Sink into that position, breathe. Can always change these yoga blocks height here on the second round if you need to. Next breath in, trap that air, pelvis is tucked, ribs are down, irradiate, pecs upper back, pails, start pushing, ramping. 10%, 20%. This time we get to 70% effort. 30, 40, dent those yoga blocks. 50, legs kick in, total body working. 60, shakes kick in. 70, fight right there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, maintain shoulder ER, rip that bar as you lift off. Rails. 5, 4, high tension, don't lose pelvis. 3, 2, 1, decelerate down, get a breath. As we did for shoulder ER, let's save that work with a few liftoffs. Decrease the height slightly. If you were lower than I was, you can always lift off from the floor instead of the blocks. Right back into that setup. 4 liftoffs with a 3-second hold. Find shoulder ER, pelvis tucked, ribs are down, shoulders are low. Lift off. 3, 2, 1. Decelerate. Resist that internal rotation. Try not to let that humerus turn in on you. Big breath in. Good tension. 3, 2, 1. Fight to maintain pelvis tuck, rib position. Good tension. 3, 2, 1. Decelerate down. Last rep here. Lift off. 3, 2, and 1. So take a second coming back to a kneel to talk about our challenges. So time for our chin-up specific work. 3 parts to this. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to come to the top of the bar. Please, if you don't feel confident jumping up to the top, have a bench, have something you can actually walk up. But we're going to work on a 20-second hold, doing our best to hold the top of the chin-up, squeezing all that prerequisite training we just worked on. So it's going to be supination, feeling that bicep involvement, that good elbow flexion, that scap depression. Trying to hold yourself almost chest to bar, 20 seconds. Then you can set down for a moment. I'm just going to stand on the bar. But again, you could come down, shake it out for a minute. Then we're going to try just 1 rep of your slowest eccentric from the top of that hold, lowering down as slowly as you possibly can into a full hang. For those of you who are maybe a bit limited in strength and know you can't just knock out chin-ups right now, this to me is how you start building the strength to actually be able to pull all the way up. Isometric holds at the top and then eccentrics lowering down. As you gain more strength holding yourself chest to bar and you can control that full range of motion down, you'll find the carryover will happen, and as you give this some frequency, you'll knock out those chin-ups before you know it. Yoga block between the knees, coming to the top of the bar. So as I mentioned, if you're not comfortable jumping up, you're walking yourself up. Good supinated position, palms turned towards you, squeezing yoga block. Coming to the top of that hang, Hold right there. Squeeze towards your chest. Squeeze that yoga block. Just hold. Upper back pinch down. Good biceps. Breathe. Try and give me 5 4-count breaths in, 6 to 8 count breaths out. Squeeze biceps, squeeze elbows, pull shoulders behind you. Last few breaths. One more. Step back down, take a second, deload the arms for a minute. If you need to come all the way down and shake it out, feel free. Breathe here. So next up, we're in that same position. We're holding the top of our chin up, and then we're going to lower down our slowest eccentric rep. All those prerequisites, challenging your elbow supination, that eccentric bicep curl, elbow flexion, your scapula control. Can you start in that deep press position, control the glide back up this time? So I'm going to show about a 20-second rep. Try your best to match my tempo. Big breath in, high tension, jump up, hold, lower. So slow, match my tempo. Elbows are just straightening. Keep lowering, that's about 5, keep going. So slow, take your time. Upper back screaming at you. Just past 10 seconds, don't rush, keep going. 15, last 5, 4, 3, 2, elbows lock. Take a moment and sit down. Take out those arms for a moment. If that was really challenging for you, if you know that your strength is a limiting factor, don't worry about this last challenge. Don't worry about trying to do the actual concentric chin up. Again, you're going to get more value from training your hold at the top and your eccentric than just struggling through a bad rep. So if you can't actually pull yourself up, that's okay. Go back at a second round. For those of us who are able, our last challenge is a 1-rep chin up. Match my tempo so slow. I'm going to get rid of this yoga block because I think it'll just get in the way on the stall bar. So coming to the bar, we've got the impossible chin up trying to match my tempo. It's going to be about a 15-second up, a 5-second hold, a 15-second down. I say about because I can't see my watch, but try and match my tempo. So tough. Come into your full hang, challenging all your prerequisites. Squeeze those legs. Scaps are elevated, deep press scapula down, start pulling so slow, match my tempo, don't rush, pull, 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 high tension upper back, arms, everything screaming, get to that chest if you can, hold right there, 5, 4, 3, 2, same eccentric, so slow, take your time, don't rush, just getting elbows to 90, control yourself down, high tension biceps, upper back scream at you, don't rush this last bit as those arms extend. Slowly full hang, we come down from the bar, and we breathe. So tough. Now, let's finish up, come to the floor for our breath work.